Welcome to the Inspiring Marriages Podcast. We are Jeff and Teresa Fields, and we are thrilled to have you with us today. The incredible music that you heard in our intro was the incredible work of our very own son, Joseph Taylor Fields.
We've been happily married for 32 amazing years. Along the way, we've been blessed by 3 incredible children. And we have a fantastic son-in-law and the most precious grandbaby you could imagine.
Get ready to be inspired. As we open up about our journey, our mission is to ignite a spark in couples everywhere. We're all about nurturing deep friendship and cultivating marriages that thrive in every way. Spiritually, emotionally, romantically, and physically. Join us on this incredible adventure.
Be sure to check out our website at inspiringmarriages.net. Dive into all our previous episodes with detailed show notes that will enrich your listening experience. Plus, scroll down to find our Keep in Touch section where you can sign up and receive our latest offerings absolutely free. That's right. And don't miss out on the inspiration. Visit us today. This week we are still dealing with the topic of outside negative influences on a marriage. And Jeff, that can cause another problem that we're addressing today, is that it can cause emotional disconnection between a husband and a wife.
Right. When there's so much negative interference in a marriage that undermines the marriage, it can stop honest and open communication,
Wow.
which can lead to a boatload of problems in the marriage and weaken the marriage. So last week we talked about one way of battling a negative outside influence is building up healthy boundaries around your marriage. So today we're going to talk about the benefits of open and honest communication. We're working on a definition of marriage where marriage is one man and one woman, physically and emotionally intimate, working together in a shared life to help each other realize their visions and dreams and walking with God to fulfill their callings and goals. In Matthew, one of our foundation scriptures is Matthew chapter 19, verses 4 and 6. And this week we're going to read it from the Amplified Classic. That's Jesus was talking. He replied, "Have you not read that he who made them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and shall be united firmly or joined inseparably to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh? So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man put asunder or separate."
That is so good. That is so good. And of course, we're flashing back to Genesis, to when Adam responded to God presenting him with Eve for the first time. This is from Genesis chapter 2, verses 23 through 25 in the Passion Translation. Then Adam said, "At last, one like me. Her bones were formed from my bones, and her flesh from my flesh. This one will be called woman, for she was taken from man. For this reason, a man leaves his father and his mother to be unselfishly attached to his wife. They become one flesh as a new family. The man and his wife felt no shame, unaware that they were both naked."
And the Greek word for the unselfishly attached is the English spelling is D-A-B-A-Q, dabak, attached to his wife, is to follow hard after, attaching to another as an act of unselfishness. It's the opposite of looking after yourself. So it's opposite of looking out for number one. What it means when a husband and a wife are attached or joined, that they are looking out for each other. And
that's right.
My needs become secondary in my eyes, and Teresa's, in her eyes, her needs become secondary, and we're looking out for each other.
That's right.
That's what attachment.
That's right.
So it's not that your parents are no longer your parents. Of course they're your parents, but they're no longer your
first
number
priority.
one focus, your first priority. Your family is your first priority. And
starting
of course,
with the marriage.
if you always keep a good relationship with your parents.
Oh yes,
but it just shifts the priority to get one man and one woman joined together.
Yes,
so,
that's so powerful.
The idea of marriage being free from outside influences suggests creating a strong, resilient bond between spouses that isn't swayed by external pressures or opinions. And those pressures and opinions can come from co-workers or family members, or it can come from society. This is how you're supposed to act, and this is what you're supposed to do. This is what makes people happy. And you have to make a bond against that, to resist that.
Right, that's right. Those voices have to become less and less in your estimation of who should be speaking into my life, secondary to God and secondary to your spouse.
Right.
And sometimes way in the background, like we said last week, you may have to do some disconnecting from some influences. Maybe not completely into a relationship, but put some distance there because they've been interfering, maybe not even meaning to, with your marriage relationship. Right.
And so what the deal with this today is, when the honest and open communication, there's some kind of disconnect there. Something is muddying the waters, or
that's good.
It's interfering, it's contaminating your marriage.
Right.
And so you have to be aware that something's contaminating your relationship, your marriage, and you have to put a stop to it. And one way you do that is honest and open communication.
That's right.
And maintaining honest and open communication between spouses to address external pressures or concerns and to strengthen that relationship.
Yes.
So when you're able to come together with your spouse and you're able to have honest and open communication, and one definition of intimacy is intimacy. When you're able to share from each other's heart, and you're able to listen and actively listen and respond and communicate, that really will clear up a lot of misunderstanding.
It really does. It really does. That's so true.
So Ephesians 4:25 in a New King James Version, Paul said, "Therefore, put away lying. Let each one of you speak truth with his neighbor, for we are members of one another." Well, that's certainly true in the body of Christ. It's even more true because we marriage. Are one flesh. We're not like two people in our marriage. We are one person in our marriage. So it's really important for us to be able to speak honestly and freely to one another. It really is.
That's right.
And we're going to include in the show notes a link to a website where they have videos and techniques and tools about the foundation of love, why communication is key in marriage, the healthy marriage. We'll include a link in our show notes to that.
That's right.
So let's listen for these symptoms. When there's a lack of open and honest communication, the following may happen. Now listen to this and see if there's any. You may not see this totally in your relationship, but if you see any resemblance of this in your in your relationship, then it needs to be dealt with severely.
You better find the cause, the root cause.
Relationship breakdown, emotional disconnect. That's when you say, "Okay,
I don't care.
I don't care. She's going to do what she does, and I don't care." Or he's just going to do what he does. He's never changing. I don't care. I'm tired of it. Right. I'm just going to focus on myself.
That's very dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
A lack of understanding Now, lack of understanding, I know they use that technique a lot in sitcoms to create a funny situation, but it's not funny in real life.
No, it's not funny.
If there's so if I'm saying something and Teresa's hearing something completely different and she's misinterpreting, maybe based on my past actions or things that happened in the past, and she's interpreting what I'm saying as differently than what I'm intending, that is a breakdown in our marriage, our relationship that needs to be dealt with. The same thing if she's saying something, but I'm hearing something totally different than what she intends. That is lack of understanding. That is a dangerous thing, and we have to root out. And it will cause increased conflict and loss of trust.
Wow.
We don't want any of this. So if you have any symptoms of these, no matter how small, you deal with it early. Say,
That's
whoa,
right.
whoa.
That's right.
We need to talk. You know, I feel emotionally disconnected. We have a lack of understanding of what we're saying. We have increased conflict.
Yeah.
And there's a loss of trust.
That's right. You know, I was thinking about this today. Like you said, it's funny in sitcoms or in movies. Have you ever seen a man and a woman having a conversation and one person is talking all about something they're thinking about and that's important to them? The other person, instead of responding to what they're saying, they're talking about a completely different topic.
Right.
And talking to the other. It's like talking at another person, and neither one is listening or responding to the other. And it seems like it's humorous, but that actually can happen in real life if we have not been practicing good communication. And that's something we're going to emphasize. This takes practice.
It does take practice.
Listening, just being a good listener takes practice.
It's one of our main friendship builders is 30 minutes of undivided, concentrated communication every day.
That's right. That's right.
Communication is more than just exchanging words. It's about understanding each other on a deeper level.
That's right. We learned years ago that there are different levels of communication. You might just have like small talk, like, hey, how's the weather? Where are you going today? Are you taking your keys or my keys? And, you know, things like that. And that's very surface level communication. But in a marriage, we've got to get further along, deeper into communication, like, you know, how was your day? Tell me what really happened, you know, so I can understand what state of mind you're in when you come home, or, you know, find those things out during the day, not like just when you first see each other or try to just unload everything all at once if you had a bad day, but communicate all through the day.
Yeah.
You know, little text messages or emails or any kind of way, phone call, just staying in communication with each other so that you can get past just the surface level communication and really communicate on a deeper level when you're together and have that 30 minutes of time talking and, you know, really start having some heart-to-heart conversation when you get into it. That would be the best.
That is so good. We've said this before. Your spouse must be given the right to speak up without penalty, criticism, or censure. It is always better to say something than to not, especially if your spouse doesn't see it. Oh, I shouldn't have to tell him that he should know, or I shouldn't have to tell her that she should know. It's always better to say it.
Yes, it is.
And not saying something is the same thing as not telling the truth.
Right. So we were saying, speak the truth to one another. That's so, so important. God gave us these words and language, and the mouth, it has the power, the tongue has the power to speak life and to speak death. So we do want to talk about anything that's going on, anything that would have to do with the other. I mean, you're not living your life separate, you're living your life as one. So everything eventually that he is going through or walking out or dealing with or hearing at work or anything, eventually it's going to affect me one way or another. And if I don't even know that those things are happening in his day or in his life, I'm going to be like getting aggravated and not even knowing why. Just like something's not right, or these things are bothering me and I don't know the details. I don't understand the situation. And it'll clear up so much if you just talk about those things.
Right. Clear up the muddy water. Clear up. Get those lines of communications up and strong. You see no westerns where they cut the telegraph line and they're not able to communicate between towns. You got to get those lines of communications working.
Get it back up and running.
Repair those lines that have been cut.
Exactly. Sometimes that means you got to find new ways to express things to each other. And that really leads into the verse that I was thinking about for this episode was Ephesians 4:15, and I found it in the English Standard Version, the ESV. It says, "Rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into Him who is the head," and that means into Christ, into the head of the church. And of course, this applies to Christians, believers everywhere, but even so much more so. We have to speak the truth in love. There's a lot of people that will say things, but it's more like a cutting remark than saying something that's necessary to say, but in a loving way. So we have to learn to express some things that we've been saying in ways that are a lot more considerate of our spouse.
Right.
And, if you know your spouse, you've been married to them for some time, you know what their points are, what things that could make them, triggered to react. And you don't want to be the one triggering them to react in an, unsavory way or, get angry or upset. Why would we want to do that to our spouse? This person is the one that God gave to us.
Right.
God has entrusted you with a treasure when He gave you your spouse. So we want to speak lovingly to one another.
Right. And let us reassure you, you have 100% chance of having a great marriage. God has placed principles in His Word that you can apply to your marriage, that you can speak life into your marriage and make it a vibrant, exciting relationship that it just fulfills all your hopes and dreams.
That's right. That's so good.
So we want this is brief. I mean, we could talk days on this, and there's probably been books and series of books written about communication in marriage. And it's understanding communication just a little bit, and this is just glossing over. One thing we know, Teresa, you have to be an active listener.
That's right.
What that means is when your spouse is talking to you, don't be thinking about what you're going to say back. Listen to what they're saying. And you've all been in a situation where someone is sharing something. Maybe they shared, "Oh, I got a flat tire on the way to work." And then someone said, "Well, that's nothing. I had a flat tire and I broke my finger." And they're always somebody trying to, they're not listening to what you're saying. They were thinking about how they were going to respond. So when Teresa's speaking to me, I need to be actively listen to her and not trying to think of what my response is going to be or how I'm going to respond to her. I need to be listening to her and get the heart of what she is saying.
That's good.
And get past of the emotion that I may have, like, "Oh, what are you saying?" And I need to listen to what she is saying.
Yes.
And same thing with her. When she's listening to me, she got to resist that it's some kind of criticism of her. And it's not. We're just trying to share honestly and openly. And I've had to learn how to do this as a male. I had to learn how to talk from my heart. And it's it wasn't natural for me to talk about those things. Right.
If it comes across cut and dried, a lot of women will react like well, I don't like how you're saying that. I don't like what you're telling me. You know, we tend to emotionally react to that.
Right.
So it is good. And on my part, if he's talking about something, I need to restrain my emotions and restrain any kind of reacting and just listen
Right.
and give him respect and let him finish what he's saying before I try to interrupt and tell him what I think he's saying.
Right.
You know, oftentimes
and
people
if you don't understand what your
wait.
spouse is saying, ask,
Yes.
what do they mean? So in all our communication between a husband and wife, there needs to be respect and understanding. Because your spouse is trying to communicate with you. Ladies, your husband may not know how to communicate well.
That's right.
And he's trying. So don't belittle him. If he
right.
doesn't do
That's
it
so
well, he's trying to help him. So work with respect and understanding. We should never speak words. We read in Proverbs 18, death and life are in the power of the tongue. But we are going to speak life. So we're going to be careful what we say. We're going to speak with respect and understanding. Right?
That's so good. That is so good. Yes, always.
And another technique, and again, we're just glossing over these real fast, is use I statements. Like, don't say, you never do this, you always do that. You say, I feel like I'm not being respected, or I feel you don't understand me, or I feel something, right?
That's so good. And of course, women are great with the I feel statements, but we have to be careful how we phrase it too. Don't turn it into like a form of manipulation.
Right.
Just say, when this happened, or when you said this, I felt whatever it was. But now I want to let you explain. Be ready to let your husband explain. Or talk about it. Talk about it between you some more. But don't ever, like you said, don't ever start out with a blame game going.
And open and honest communication can be an avenue of bringing great healing to your marriage. One or both of you may have been in a past relationship, or there was hurt, where there was mistrust, where there was a breakdown in communication, and there still hurts there. And so this open and honest communication can bring healing to your spouse's heart.
That's
and you can be the minister of healing to your spouse, to minister the love of God to your spouse, to bring healing to even those past hurts.
That's right.
That she was betrayed by somebody in a former relationship, and this can bring healing. That I can trust my husband, and I can trust my wife. Say both ways that there can be healing. This can be an avenue where you can minister the love of God to your spouse for healing.
It really is. Yeah, we've experienced that. We certainly have. I mean, just seeing a vulnerable area that Jeff was able to talk about, and I was able to speak kindness, speak love, and speak compassion and understanding to him. Not just saying, I want you to stay where you are, but I understand it, and I'm going to pray for you, and we're going to walk this out and see God heal this area. And he did. He gave me words to say and gave me the right heart towards Jeff. And he did the same for me, because I had a lot of past hurts. Brought some baggage with me, even though I tried to deal with a lot of it before we got married. But you're always going to have some past things come up at times. And, that's probably triggering your response more than what's currently happening with your spouse.
Right.
But we really have experienced a lot of healing in our marriage.
Yes. And always seek to understand your spouse.
Yes.
If he says something and you don't understand what he's talking about, or don't understand, ask questions.
Ask questions.
Say, just keep asking questions, and same thing, you may not understand what your wife is saying. I don't understand what you're talking about, and she can ask questions, and don't get frustrated with each other if there's still some misunderstanding. Take the time, calm down, take your time, and
that's right,
and enjoy the benefits of your marriage by clearing up this misunderstanding.
Yes,
and
that's
you got to be
good.
careful about your nonverbal cues. your tone of voice, your facial expressions, your body language. That's all part of communication.
Oh, definitely. We all need to be aware of that. You might be aware of it for someone else, but, the folded arms, that's one of them. Just like, I'm not listening. I don't care how much you try to convince me. I'm not budging. I'm not changing my mind. And you may think, oh, I'm listening, but this tells your spouse, no, you don't want to hear what I have to say.
Right.
So be aware that we need to approach each other very open and honestly, and not put them off with facial expressions.
Right.
Like, you've seen your kids or your teenagers with the eye rolls,
Don't
or
do
the
eye rolls.
Scrunching up their face or frowning. And kids will do that because they haven't learned to respond more appropriately to what they're being told. But we have had time to grow past that, right?
Right.
We can be kind
Take
to
your
our
spouse's
spouse.
hand, look them in the eye,
Yes,
and talk,
eye contact.
and talk.
That's so good.
And talk and talk and talk.
That's so good.
Pray together and talk,
Yes.
and pray together and talk.
Amen. Amen.
You can build your companionship. One of our catchphrases is build your friendship that builds your marriage. Is you build your companionship with open dialogue and meaningful activities.
That's
do
right.
things together. If there's some kind of broken communication, do things together. Make breakfast together, cook meals together, go to the grocery store together, go on walks together, work out together. Just spend time together doing meaningful activities together to build that companionship.
Right. That companionship and that friendship is so, so important. That is so good.
And if there's conflict, you need to seek out conflict resolution. Avoiding blame, open to compromise, as long as, not compromising your values.
Right.
Some things, you might be on two opposite ends of an opinion. You need to come together. And it may not be a moral issue. If it's a moral issue, that's different. But if it's not a moral issue, come together,
Right, right.
He might want blue in the bathroom, and she might want green. So you got to maybe settle on yellow or something.
Yeah, or some things are blue and other things are green, and they complement each other, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah, find a way to work it out.
And if you're having trouble, don't hesitate seeking outside help.
Right.
And speak to your pastor about, a reference to someone that can help you, that can sit down with you and talk with you and help you in this conflict resolution.
That's right. There are a lot of good Christian marriage counselors that you can, rely on for some help there. That's so good.
That is so good. There are lots of benefits of open and honest communication, and we're just going to gloss over them. Like I said before, this series could be a series. This one podcast could be a series, and maybe we'll come back one day and dive into each of these individually in more detail. But one of the great benefits of open and honest communication is enhanced intimacy. And we're talking about physical and spiritual intimacy. Well, like a definition of intimacy is into my heart see. So
that's right.
When you have open and honest communication, fellas, your wife feels connected to you.
That's right.
Isn't
Very
that true?
much. Yes, that is so, so true. Yes, we need to hear what's in our husband's heart, what he really cares about, what his desires are, what his needs are. I mean, it's okay for guys to talk about that with their wives, and we're just like, oh, now you're speaking my language.
Guys,
we love it.
Your wife connects with you through your words. So it's really important to communicate with your wife. That's how she feels connected to you. And so men in general are emotionally modest, and it's hard for them to open up and talk about the things inside the heart. But when he does that, the wife feels connected to the husband. Women in
Very
general
connected.
are physically modest, but when the husband is able to communicate to her and she feels connected to him, she will open up physically, and
That's right.
enhances intimacy in all levels, romantically, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. That's right. Another great thing that open and honest communication does in a marriage, it builds trust. What a great thing to have.
It is a great
so if
thing
you
to have.
if you're in a relationship, maybe you're engaged or you're in a relationship, and there just isn't that trust, one way to build it up is open and honest communication.
Exactly. I mean, that's how you get to know a person, really get to know a person. If they can talk all about what they think, what they feel, what they're dealing with, what their past was like. I mean, especially before getting married. We mentioned this, in our courtship series, that you really need to talk about the past relationships and how it affected you or what you've learned from them. Just a lot of areas that you just wouldn't know about a person if you're just dating or just getting to know them. But especially when you're married, like we said, these things can erode trust if we're keeping back parts of ourselves. We're supposed to be open and honest with God, and we're also supposed to be open and honest in every area with our spouse. And if you're not able to do that, then you need to build trust in whatever area that is.
Right. Yeah. So your spouse doesn't have to know about every detail of your past relationships,
Not
but
every detail.
if you guys, if you were hurt by a critical tongue in a past relationship, your fiance, your spouse, they need to know. They need to know that the critical tongue, you were hurt, and you have hurts from a critical tongue that you're still having to deal with. But open and honest communication is a way for God to bring healing to those hurts, or a female or wife or your fiance may have been controlled by a former boyfriend or felt she was being controlled. But this honest, open communication is a way for God to bring healing to those hurts.
It really is.
And it builds trust. It's why it's so important to have the 30 minutes of conversation every day, to pray together every day. Just speak to each other, speaking words of life to each other, speak praise and speak life into the relationship. It just builds that trust.
Yes, and just encouraging each other.
Encouragement, right.
Areas that you need encouragement. I mean, who would be the best one, to encourage you but your spouse, because they know you. They're living in the same home with you. You share a lot of experiences together. That's the best person to encourage you.
Right.
I don't want to call a bunch of girlfriends and say, I'm struggling with this and this and this. No, I'm going to talk to the Lord first, and then I'm going to talk to Jeff. And he's always going to be encouraging to me if there's something I'm struggling with, or I just need someone to say, yeah, I'm in your corner. I'm with you on this. That definitely builds trust to say, Okay, we're in this together. I'm not dealing with this by myself.
We are in this together.
Yes.
We are battling. Her battle is my battle, and my battle is her battle. So we're battled together. I'm not battling something on my own, and she's not battling something on her own. We're battling together. We're linked arm in arm, walking hand by hand, side by side, and we're going to battle it. We're back to back. We are battling together. We're going to fight. Right. We're going to win, and we're going to win because we have the Word of God and the Holy Spirit, and we are going to win this battle.
We're going to win. That's right, and that really is the third one that you have here. The communication, being honest and open, aids in conflict resolution. And you touched on that before. I mean, if there is a conflict, it's usually because of a misunderstanding or something that was not talked about, and things just happened, and now, hey, I don't know how come you got to go to this place at this time. What about me and the kids, or what about what we wanted to do that we talked about before? And let's talk about it now and settle this. He can say, okay, I'm going to do this, but once I come home, it's all my attention is for you and the kids, and I'm not going to let that get in the way of our family time again. Right. Because when we make commitments, we have to be very considerate.
Right.
If we make outside commitments, we still have to be considerate of our spouse and what their needs are and what their expectations are, and that's, like I said, a whole other topic. But
that's so good.
It can cause conflicts if we make outside commitments, and we've talked about the outside influences, but sometimes we'll say, oh, yes, I'll be there. I'll do that. I'll go to that meeting. I'll be in that, softball practice or whatever before talking to your spouse. And then I'm like, hey, what about us? What about, what we usually do on Tuesday night? Mm-hmm. Or, what about our time together just talking? You right. kind of preempted that with this other thing. And, we don't want to allow that to stay as a conflict. We have to resolve that.
That is so good. Wow, that is tremendous.
It happens so much more than you would think,
right.
So just,
every marriage is going to have conflict.
Oh, yes. Yes.
If you don't have conflict, you're not growing. I mean, conflict, not all conflict is bad. Mm-hmm. If you deal with what's happening right away.
Right.
So
that's right.
If you're growing as a couple, and you're growing as a husband, and you're growing as a wife, and you're growing, and you're developing, and you're increasing in every way, there's going to be some kind of conflict, but you can deal with that with honest and open communication.
Right. And talking about it, everything, wrapped in love. We want to be considerate
respectful
and kind,
and understanding.
Respectful,
right.
Never spewing out hurtful words or spewing out anger
right, no.
at your spouse.
My dad said you were no good. He was right.
Oh, that would be awful.
That's right. I knew I should have married Harry. If you have any symptoms of break down your relationship, emotional disconnect, lack of understanding, increased conflict, or loss of trust, then the solution is open and honest communication. That's
right.
part of dealing with negative outside influences on your marriage.
That's right.
Exciting news. Catch our audio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Podcasts. We would love to hear your thoughts, so please leave us a review. Do you prefer watching? Head on over to YouTube and search for the Inspiring Marriages channel to see us in action. And for the ultimate convenience, listen with your smart device. Just say, Siri, play the Inspiring Marriages podcast. Join us wherever and however you prefer to tune in. This week's friendship builder is to watch a marriage teaching together on YouTube. Now, you may not be able to do it every night. I mean, people, you got things going on. But set a goal, maybe
once a week.
Once
a great way to start.
Once a week. Mm-hmm. So we have a link in our show notes to XO Marriage, and they have over 1,100 videos concerning marriage about communication or intimacy or outside influences. There's just
raising kids,
raising the kids, different stages of marriage. Mm-hmm. There is so many videos, and we'll have a link to it from XO Marriage in our show notes. But isn't it a good thing to watch a marriage video together?
It is. I mean, when we started watching Jimmy Evans years ago, I was just amazed, like, how have we not known about the things he is saying in these videos? I mean, it was like such common sense things once you heard someone who's a, longtime marriage counselor and pastor and, talk about different areas of marriage that need to be addressed and things that people need to know, and the, scriptural way to conduct your marriage and to love one another unconditionally. I was just amazed, like, how did we not know this before? But you can always learn and always grow in your marriage.
Right. And we do that. We listen to podcasts, we watch marriage videos. We're always seeking to improve our communication level.
That's right.
This week's Friendship Builder, go watch a marriage teaching together on YouTube.
Stay connected with us across all platforms. Join our vibrant community on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe for the latest updates and behind-the-scenes moments.
Got something on your mind? Shoot us an email at inspiringmarriages@att.net. We're all ears for your questions or suggestions on how to enhance our podcast. And if you have any ideas on topics you'd love us to dive into next, let's keep the conversation going. Until next week, remember, husband and wife are friends for life.